Well, hello, Ketcher.
Oh,
How are ya?
very good.
Good. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to ask your permission to share this video. So it's going to be shared at the 2024 I Am a PSW conference. And then above and beyond that, if we need to show it to anyone else, any other groups or anything, do we have your permission to show this?
Certainly.
Excellent. I love it. So, Ketcher, you did a video when you were 9. 11 years ago, you are now
20. It's
20.
not obvious by what's in my hand.
You're smoking a cigar. You are doing another update for us all. So, 9 years old, you kind of gave us a little bit of a spiel about what, kind of autism looked like for you at that point. So, 11 years have gone by. Tell us a bit about yourself. What's happened in the last 11 years? What's interesting? What's going on?
Well, within those past 11 years, I've gone through ups and downs, as any person does. But personally, I've been investing most of my time into art. Things like painting, like writing. I play D&D recently. I got into Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering, love it.
Whatever is fun, engaging, and in my own words, complex.
Magic the Gathering is pretty complex, isn't it?
Oh, it's easy once you get to know it, but even then, you're sort of sitting there a little confused.
Yeah.
All depends on the players.
True. Excellent. So, last time you gave us kind of the 9-year-old perspective of autism. Now here you are, you're an adult, a legal adult for 2 years now. What's it like being an adult on the spectrum?
Well, that's a very complicated question, Janet.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I would always go on about, analogies on how I felt like I was always on the edge. That hasn't changed. I still feel like I'm a coin on the side of the knife.
Okay.
But as I've gotten older, I found more techniques, more methods.
Okay.
It's become a lot easier, but at the same time, it's also become a lot harder.
So is it a lot easier? I think it was a lot easier when you were younger because there was a ton of supports, right?
Oh, totally. I was just going to get to that.
Okay, so yeah, tell us about that and the difference between the supports as a child and now.
As a child, you're always given so many supports. You can turn anywhere and there'll be therapy like ABA or stuff for autistic children. But the moment you hit 18, it's just gone completely. Many of us move to different types of methods to help us.
Okay. What type of methods do you find that some people have turned to on the spectrum?
I've seen, especially with my own friends, many of them turn to alcohol.
Okay.
And other stuff, but that's more on the extreme side.
Yeah.
I've seen many of them, even more, get into really complex hobbies.
Yeah.
Like my old friend Greg, he was huge into comic books and would spend almost all of his paycheck on comics.
Wow.
Because he was so hyper fixated on them.
Yeah.
He'd just keep getting more and more, and he didn't care how much they were.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's good he had his own paycheck. He wasn't spending someone else's money, right? So, I mean, maybe that's a bit of a difference, too. When you were younger, you kind of had someone to help and guide,
Exactly.
And now and then you turn 18, and
you're left in the dust.
Yeah.
You're left completely in the dust. There's nothing for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, OPSWA is trying, but to be honest, that's probably the first time I've seen anything try.
Yeah.
Because once you hit 18, therapy becomes expensive. The resources you once had no longer apply to you. You're sort of left alone. Like I was mentioning earlier, many of them turn to alcohol, anything to numb the feeling. Some people get into weed. That was me for a bit of time.
Okay.
I am even willing to admit that I was addicted for a little bit. All to regulate myself.
Okay, yeah. It's, because there's not a ton, obviously, of services out there, right? So I am honored to be a part of OPSWA to help start this awareness with autism. So knowing that we are talking today mainly to PSWs, I mean, this will go out to other people as well. Is there any advice that you'd give to any PSWs who are working with someone who might be on the spectrum, or who they might be working with someone in the future? Like, what would you give them? What advice would you give them?
Autism can be very complex. Like, for example, with me, it took a lot of doctors to diagnose me.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is be patient. You know, if they're higher functioning, they still have problems, but they can communicate it better. If they're lower functioning, they have even more problems, but they can't communicate it.
Yeah.
That's the difference between high functioning and low functioning.
So they really can't voice how they're feeling. So maybe they're showing that through their behavior.
Emotions,
right?
yes. They'll thrash around. They'll start crying. They'll start, like, those are the extremes. But sometimes you'll notice them just point and point and point.
Yeah.
I had an encounter with one a while back. He was nonverbal, but you could understand every word he said if you actually listened.
Okay.
For example, he would go up to people showing them his books.
Oh, nice.
Mostly on trains and other stuff. He was a really good guy, but it took a little bit to understand him. Even as an autistic man myself, it took me a little bit to understand him. But the best virtue for dealing with anyone on the spectrum is patience. Patience and humility.
I love that. I love that advice for sure. Knowing that there is, you know, we need more awareness, obviously, as well with autism, people on the spectrum and stuff like that. I know when we see children, you might recognize someone on the spectrum because they're in a grocery store, maybe with noise canceling headphones or an iPad in their hand.
It's obvious.
So maybe as an adult, it's not as obvious. But I mean, if someone was in a grocery store and they see a child with headphones on, and maybe they're trying to make their needs known by being a bit verbal, loud, maybe, you know, flopping to the floor or flapping their hands or something like that. What would you want the general public to know about someone who might be having a moment?
Well, I'm going to reiterate it again, patience, because that's the only way many of us can actually show our emotions is by getting to that escalating point and losing it.
Okay.
I know. Even I am guilty of it. I won't go on the floor screaming in Walmart because I didn't get a specific toy.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, it can be as small as some minor inconvenience. And we don't know how to regulate ourselves most of the time. So it just builds and builds and builds. And many of us mask and hide that stuff away. So it just boils up randomly.
Okay.
So normally when you see a kid thrashing around, it's because their mask has dropped and they're not, children don't really have masks. I should reiterate that.
Okay.
They sort of just express themselves and scream. But adults, we hide that.
Okay.
It's not as obvious.
And that's what masking is then.
Yes.
So for people who don't know what masking is, it's kind of putting forth yourself then.
It's hiding the negative aspects of yourself.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it. Because it's like, oh, you're fine? Yeah, I'm fine. But you're not.
Okay. What does it feel like when you're like kind of that sensory overload if you're really...
Every sense is heightened. Yeah. To a very, I'll say it, terrifying degree. Like, for example, the smells will become too much for me. They'll become too bright in the room. My ears will start ringing and I'll hear every little thing, including my own heartbeat. You know, your skin feels like it's falling off you. You know, your bones feel like they're vibrating. It's not pleasant at all.
It does not sound pleasant. So you know what? I think that's amazing that that piece of sage advice is the patience, right? You just have to have patience with someone who's on the spectrum, maybe even a little bit more patience than you would with someone else, depending on, of course.
Depending on where they are on the spectrum.
For sure, and depending on the person and stuff like that. So, yeah. But anyway, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for making this. So it's been 11 years. So I think in like 10... when you're 30,
definitely do it again.
We have to do this again because, oh my gosh, I've known you since you were 10. So I've known you for 10 years and you've just gotten, you know, taller and your face has stayed the same. I love it.
A little bit.
A little bit. Well, yeah, I guess you didn't have the beard going, right? But this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Ketcher. Is there anything else you want to add?
Not really.
No? Okay.
I think it covered everything.
I think so too. Yeah. The patience. Patience, patience, patience. Awesome. All right. Well, Ketch, you have a fantastic rest of your day. And we will do this again in 10 years. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect.
All right.
If you're still around.
I will be. I'm hanging around. I'm not going anywhere. Sound good?
Sound good.
You're stuck with me. I guess you need to learn some patience too. All right, Ketch. We'll chat soon, okay?
Bye.
Bye.